Hello and welcome to the Irish Angle in association with William Hill. Make sure to download the William Hill app over the Christmas period to check out their new racing bet builder and their betting enhancer, to enhance the odds on winning bets or enhance their place terms on major races, which could be useful across this Christmas period. We're here to preview, I think, 10 major Grade 1 races across the next few days, across the next week, with Paddy and Johnny Flood here. Lads, there's plenty to get stuck into. Are you looking forward to the Christmas period, Paddy? You going racing any day?
I'm thinking about them, yeah. I haven't been for a good few years, so I think I might break out this year and go to Leopardstown for one of the days, yeah.
And Johnny, you'll probably be on duty in Limerick at some stage.
I'll be in Limerick, yeah, and the 26th is like, I don't know, it's just that day when if you're not racing, it is brilliant to be at home. It's kind of hard to. I would definitely encourage people to gamble responsibly. Like that sounds a bit daft, but like if you are hungover on Stevens' day and there's a million meetings on, like it is very easy to lose the run of yourself and having a few drinks, whatever. So it's important to make that point that like it's a mad time of year, but you should be as sensible as you can be anyway. But I suppose our problem is kind of just knowing where some of the horses are going that are double entered, but nearly there's a massive number of big ones kind of ready to roll, and it's I getting the race from post on Christmas Eve. It's my favorite day of the year to read the race cards, and I'm looking forward to Limerick as well.
Yeah, plenty to get stuck into. I suppose we'll kick off on Stephen's Day. Plenty of big Grade 1 races that day. And we'll go to Kempton first, maybe. You kind of mentioned maybe guessing where horses might be going. We've got Sergino 8-11 in this one. Anzadam 1. Maybe we're not totally sure if he'll head here. He's 3-1. Golden Ace 5-1 champion hurdle winner. Maybe not totally getting her respect in here. Celtic Dino 8-1, and it's 16s bar those. I suppose to kick off Sergino, Paddy. It's been kind of rumbling for a little while that maybe he might revert back over hurdles. It's kind of been confirmed here now pretty much. He's going to go for the Christmas hurdle on Stephen's Day. 8-11 favourite. Look, he's obviously a Grade 1 winner in Open Company, winning the Fighting Fifth last time. He's quite short here, but probably deservingly so, I suppose.
He's very short. Look, we're going on past form, but we're going on a horse that, by all accounts, nearly died, and hasn't run since. So, geez, that's short for me. That's very, very short. I'll have to give a mention to the mare you said, Emma, at the top there, Golden Ace. I mean, 5-1. She has to be a great bet each way. I mean, she's a cracking mare, and like her defeat, her win the last day was good. Look, we were saying this, that, and the other could have happened, okay, but there's no new line in it. Like when she was second on her start this year, she scoped 30, so that's a valid outcome. When horses scope bad, they don't run well. They never run up to par. She was second in Punchestown last year to Stateman, and absolutely nothing wrong with that. Stateman is a superstar. Sergino, listen, if I had a lot of money in my bank account, I still wouldn't back him, to be honest. I'd be back if 9 turn up here, and I presume Anzadam will come here to try and stay away from Lossy Mount and the likes. He seemed to travel over well the last day in Rennes race and might just need a run. The back of my mind is, and it might be stupid, but we were saying Gavin Cromwell's horses weren't running great, but Willie's they're not firing. There is a few of them firing, but like usually this time of the year we start to see them. But I think there's only one horse in Thurles a few weeks ago that actually blew me away, Willie's, and usually you're used to that happening in bumpers and maiden hurdles, but we haven't been seeing it, and it's just a little worry. But Golden Ace, I think, is a great bet. 5-1, very much value.
Yeah, I was maybe a little bit surprised to see her, especially a bigger price than Anzadam at least. I don't know, Johnny, what did you make of Anzadam's last one? For me, I thought he got there with every chance. Look, you can say Willies will improve for the run, but I wasn't madly keen about his head carriage in the finish there. I thought he put his head in the air. He had his chance to go past, and he just didn't do it for me. And so I'd find it hard enough to see him reversing the form of Golden Ace here. What were your thoughts?
I suppose it's a game of opinions. Like I still would be greatly respecting him in the champion hurdle, and as Paddy alluded to there, it's hard to say Willie is changing his training methods, but some of the horses probably do need the run a little bit. Even suggesting that some of the horses have looked in the paddock on their comeback runs, like they did need the run. Bambino Fever, for example. So Anzadam hasn't, wouldn't have in Ireland anyway have been used to racing like that, and he had to come off the bridle. And I'd still give him the benefit of the doubt. He's a typical keen authorised that I take encouragement from how well he settled in the race. As for the race itself, I do feel Sergino is a bit of a monster of a horse. Like the way his performance against Ballyburn at Kempton, I thought was pretty incredible, given that he wasn't even necessarily himself anywhere near asked the question by Nico de Boinville, as good as he actually is. I mean, if you're Joe Marie Donnelly here, there's no way you run Amsterdam against Sergino. That would be absolutely mad. So I'm sure the owner will be insisting that if Amsterdam runs anywhere, it's at Leopardstown. I don't know why you'd run the two of them against each other. Like, because Amsterdam would have a right chance of going close in Leopardstown as well. So I imagine that's what they'll be suggesting to Willie. I'm not sure how that relationship works, but that, to me, it'd be crazy running the two of them in this race when Amsterdam could definitely beat Lossiemouth on potential. I find this race tricky because, as I say, I don't know what's running in it. If Amsterdam is running, I'd be inclined to back him each way with the doubts about Sergino. But I'm a firm believer in not backing odds-on shots if you've doubts about them. And as Paddy spoke about Sergino there in the background of why he's been off for a year, I couldn't back him at the prices, even though I feel he's much the best horse in this race.
Yeah, I could see the point of there. That probably makes me sway towards Golden Ace a bit as well. Like, you're kind of betting on Sergino being healthy a bit as well. Like, he's form over hurdles, and that run over fences would kind of stick out in your mind at this meeting last year against Ballyburn. He's obviously a very talented horse, but he's got an awful lot to overcome here. And you've got a reigning champion hurdle winner in here, fighting fifth winner, Golden Ace 5-1. She looks like a fairly decent each way bet there, like Paddy said in this one. But we'll move on to the next big one on the day, the King George. Gaelic Warrior is in here, favourite 5-2. Django Bay 11-4. Factify 4-1. The odds have changed a bit since I looked at this first thing this morning. Jukebox Man 11-2, and it's 10 bar those. Johnny, I'll go to you first with this one. Maybe slightly surprising to some that Willie has gone back with the two of them here. He's kind of said that Gaelic Warrior and Factify are both going to line up here after their John Durkin clash. Do you think there's any reason why Factify could reverse that form of Gaelic Warrior?
Yeah, like without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, even on the day, I'd say Paul Townend gave Gaelic Warrior a peach of a ride. I think the figures back that up as well. And I mean, there's very little between them. If Factify went very, very short in the in-running market, as you would expect. And they're actually they're unusual, the two horses, because they're very, very versatile regarding trip. I'm not entirely sure what Factify's best trip is, but the key for Gaelic Warrior, I've thought this a long time. Like, maybe his ability has been able to get him to the other side in good races, but like, he has to be better going this way. And this race really should suit him. Like, it's a kind of a pacey 3 miles. But the fact that they're going to their right and they're turning a lot really should suit him. And I felt he was very good at Punchtown. He was, he went hard, but he had enough class in the end to prevail. But this is no 2-horse race at all. Like, I have a lot of respect for the Jukebox Man. He's a far more straightforward horse than Gaelic Warrior. Whether there'll be kind of a pace, kind of pressure in the race, and I imagine that there will be. But Gaelic Warrior certainly doesn't need to make the running, and I don't think Paul Townend, I don't think whoever rides Gaelic Warrior here will be mad insistent that he needs to make the run. The Jukebox Man might be able to kind of go out in front, and I just like the fact that he was so impressive at this meeting last year as well. He's only a 7-year-old. Going on 8, he's lightly raced, and I think he's quite solid each way. He mightn't quite have the class of some of the others, the likes of Banbridge as well. I respect him. Won the race last year. The Cork run, I wouldn't mind that too much. He was light in the betting again and probably needed over the 2 miles. And there is a potential pace collapse as well, which will absolutely suit him. He'll be ridden the same way. He'd be quite reliant on the ground being good to soft or better as it is at the moment. But even if if we can get the 2 Mullins horses in the race, this is going to be a cracker regardless of what else runs. Ile Francais, he's not a horse, funnily enough, I'd be ruling out either. I know that he was second in the race last year, and he's probably another potential pace pressure to the Jukebox Man. He's not a horse you can rely on, but at a big price, you certainly wouldn't rule him out. But the Jukebox Man for me is just a good, very, very solid, really good jumper, the type of horse you can rely on, which isn't exactly what you can say about all of these. So I like him each way.
I was looking at the Jukebox Man, Django Bay. Like, they're probably horses you can definitely make a case for them each way. But for me, I think Gaelic Warrior, in fact, I would have to underperform for them to come out and top here. I think that they've both got a little bit to prove stepping up to this level. I know Django Bay last winner he's stepping up to 3 miles for the first time. He was good last time in the Ladbrokes Chase, but this is a totally different level altogether. Paddy, what were your thoughts? Are you sticking with your old White to 5?
I am, Emma. He's a horse I love. I think he'll improve off his first run. You could kind of listen. They went helter-skelter around Punchestown. It was a brilliant race to watch. A lot of people didn't think so as a betting wise. Johnny Ward, one of them, but you know, it was a good old ding-dong battle. I'm just worried that if there is a little cloud in Willie's, or if there's a little cough or a virus or something going around, that these two they did have hard races in Punchestown, really hard races. But I think Fact to File improves. I'm with Johnny in that if Gaelic Warrior jumps off to make the run, and I don't think he wins. If he does what he did in Punchestown, he won't do it in Kempton over 3 miles. There's no way. He's a horse that actually knows Punchestown very well, and he likes it. So if you throw him into a mix, a different course he doesn't know, I don't think Paul gets that breather like he does in Punchestown. It's a big wide open country track where the horse can look around and take his time down the back, but he won't get that luxury in Kempton. I can see LA France and the Jukebox Man jumping off there, and I think the French horse nearly has to make the running, because I think if he gets it any other way, he doesn't like it. His best chance in the race is to bounce out and go quick early and then try and get into a rhythm, you know, kind of after 2 or 3 furlongs. Jukebox Man will be bang on the speed. The race probably sets up for Gaelic Warrior. You know, I'm going to back on the fact that Fact to File will improve a bit, and maybe Gaelic Warrior was at his peak, say, at home in Punchestown the last day. And like this, going back again to Willie's horses needing a run, like if you've ever been to Willie Mullins, you see how deep the gallop is. It's hard to believe a horse will need a run, to be honest. So I just worry that maybe it's not fitness-wise, there might be something else there. But listen, he's a horse I love, Fact to File. I think he's all class. But I think the biggest danger is Django Boy, to be honest with you. He jumped brilliant the last day, and he won easy. You know, it was a really, really nice introduction to this campaign. He's a horse I really like. You know, he's tough. He's not quick or anything, but he's a bit like Bobsworth. I think he reminds me a bit of him, that there is class there. He's not going to arrive on the bridle down to the last, but he'll grind. And I can hopefully see the two of them, Fact to File and Django Bay, battling it out at the back of the last.
Very good. Oh, I'm sticking with Gaelic Warrior here. He was a dark horse for me in this division at the start of the year, and I didn't really expect him to put up such a performance in the John Durkin, but I think if he can come back here in a close to that form, he'd be fairly hard to beat. Look, I think Sean Bowen's really interested in booking on Banbridge, though, isn't he? Like if the race falls apart any bit up front, like he's not going to stop pushing, and he could pick up the pieces from behind. Maybe last year's winner, of course, you can't rule him out. He was disappointing since winning the race last year, I suppose. Didn't run much of a race in the Hilly Way last time, but getting close to back to ground that he might like here. Got a good jockey book, and he mightn't be the maddest each way bet either, about 14-16 to 1 there. But we'll swing back to Leopardstown for their Grade 1 on the 26th, and it's the Racing Post Novice Chase. Romeo Coolio in here at 4-7 favourite. July Flower for the Henry de Bromhead team 7-2. Salvador Mundi 4-1. Irish Panther 8-1, and it's 10s bar those. Romeo Coolio, he hasn't put a foot wrong yet over fences, Paddy. The market expects him to do the same again here. You've been impressed with him?
Yeah, really impressed with him. You could not be impressed with him. He always looked like a horse that would jump a fence. And he just proved that point. He was smashing his 2 runs over fences, I know, and down Royal there wasn't a whole lot of jumping done, but he just has that big, rangy, lovely stride, but he's not awkward for a big horse, you know, and he's really settled down, he's matured. Look, he's short enough at the price, but he's one of them, you know, that is a solid 4-7 shot or whatever, you know, unless something drastically wrong goal happens, he should be bang there. But July Flower, like, we haven't mentioned her a whole pile. She's a cracking mare, really, really good. If you go back and look at her win in Cheltenham, gee, she jumped. Oh, Christ. Dara O'Keefe, you could see the smile on his face, nearly jumping the fence at the top of the hill in Cheltenham. He kind of left the door open for her to stand at the wings if she wanted, but and she did. She came and she won well, you know, going from a Limerick beginners to Cheltenham. in a decent chase. She's a mare of a lot of time for her, and I think she'll make Romeo Coolio work. I don't think she'll beat him, but I think she'll make him work, definitely.
You thinking Romeo Coolio could do it again here?
Yeah, I back Be Aware at Cheltenham against July Flower. I was surprised at the price difference, and she beat him readily, but I think Be Aware probably has his limitations. We saw the next day he was put in his place by Lulamba, but I do think he doesn't necessarily have proper grade 1 potential, the likes of Romeo Coolio. The issue people have, I think, with Romeo Coolio is that his novice hurdle campaign seemed to imply that his vulnerabilities. I actually feel this horse is just a different animal altogether over fences. I no doubt he's absolutely top class. I can't see him be beaten here. I'd be amazed if I'd be almost amazed if any mare could beat him this season. I'd be amazed if July Flower could beat him. He's my sort of novice to follow. I think he's spectacular, and I think he's only getting going. He's only 6-year-old horse who's, I'd nearly just give him a pass with some of his hurdling exploits, which were very, very good, but I can't see him be beaten. He's bulletproof to me.
Very good. We'll move on from there. So one more grade 1 to talk about on Stevens' day. We'll go to Aintree for the William Hill Formby Novice Hurdle. We've got the Supreme Novice Hurdle favourite, My Daddy Paddy, in here. He's 4-6 favourite for this one. Active Innocence 11-4. Skylight Hustle for the Gordon Elliott team 6-1. Idaho Sun 7-1 is 10s bar those. My Daddy Paddy, Johnny, look, he's won 3 times for the Skeletons. He's impressed 3 times. This is obviously a big step up in grade, but he's expected to take that step up well. They seem to think a lot of this horse.
Yeah, this is truly astonishing that all the novice races at Cheltenham, like not the mares races, but the novice hurdle races, they all have British trained favourites. Like, it's an incredible state of affairs, and this guy is probably going to be the shortest of them. I just don't know. Like, Dan Skelton trained the dam. They know this family very well. And there's obviously a lot of hype around the horse. It's just kind of hard to know how good he is. I'm going to go with Age of Innocence if he runs here. I actually don't really remember a Paul Nicholls to Nicky Henderson stable switch before. Maybe I'm missing something here, but it's obviously quite unusual. But sorry, Active Innocence, he's very well regarded, and when he won at Newbury, that was a strong race. He barely came off the bridle, and I'm kind of slightly going on the regard in which he's held. He started off back in the day at the Punchestown Festival, and he was a big price third for Garrett O'Loughlin in the Goffs Defender Bumper, as it's called now. And he's obviously very promising. He might want a little bit further, but 2 miles 1 at this stage is fine. And just going with the price, I think he's interesting versus My Daddy Paddy. I want to see how good My Daddy Paddy is. I think this will tell us. I don't know where Skylight Hustle is going, so he could go to Leopardstown as well. He's very promising, but for me, I'm still not convinced My Daddy Paddy deserves quite the hype. We shall see.
Yeah, I actually rewatched Active Innocence Newbury maiden hurdle win there this morning. He was impressive, and he beat a horse of the Skeletons who kind of came with a big reputation as well, Sinatra. And afterwards, listening to Nicky and Nico's interviews like this, they seem to think this fella's a fair horse as well, and he was well backed on the day. So no shock to see him get involved. Paddy, what's your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, kind of pretty much in the same camp as Johnny there. Active Innocence is a horse I put up here on the show a few weeks back when he won his maiden in Newbury. That, if you go back to the form of that Newbury down through the years, it's where all the good ones are targeted. The second horse was actually a Nichols horse as well, Sinatra, before the Skeletons got their hands on him. Big reputation. And to be fair, the two of them ran up to the reputation. They went down to the last. Active Innocence was a little bit high at it and probably lost momentum, and Sinatra kicked, and Active Innocence kicked again and went by him and probably won snug enough in the end. And the same way with My Daddy Paddy, he looks a good horse. He looks a really good horse, but I think he's there because none of Mullinses have blown us away like they usually do in maidens. Nothing has come out and just absolutely sluiced in. So I think by default, My Daddy Paddy is there to top the markets for everything, but this will be a big test for him. Massive test. I think the two of them are well above average. But the horse in it I don't mind at a each way bet is Diamond Hunter for Chris Gordon. Last run, I think he came from Ireland, the horse. And Chris was on TV speaking about him, and they rate him pretty highly, and I think if there was a Skelton or a Mullins or an Elliott beside his name, he'd probably be half the price he is. I think he's around 14-1. So I'd like to watch My Daddy Paddy and Active Innocence going at it and seeing who's the superstar. But if I was having a bet, I'd have a few each way on Diamond Hunter.
Yeah, look, they both have big reputations coming into it, I suppose, but both a bit to prove, stepping into Grade 1 company for the first time. Obviously, there's a horse who are actually liking here, probably unlikely to go. I'd say Gordon was saying he might head to Leopardstown instead, but Skylight Hustle, look, we'll probably talk about him more later on in the show. He's probably more likely to go for the Grade 1 in Leopardstown, but he's a horse with a big reputation, I think, from Gordon's. Gordon thinks he's a very smart horse. Hacked up in Fairy House there a few weeks ago. He had been beaten in Gorham Park before that, but things maybe didn't go right for him that day. Look, if by chance they did decide to send him here instead of Leopardstown, I'd be big on him. I think the form of even his defeat in Gorham looks well. I think the winner and the third that day were both placed in Grade 2 hurdles since, and he was as impressive as you like in Fairy House next time. By the way, Gordon talks about him. He sounds like a very nice horse. So if by chance they did decide to go here, I know they sent Farring Glory there a few years ago. He looked like he might have won that day as well before he fell. So Skylight also maybe keep him in the back of your mind just in case he does get declared for Aintree on Stephen's Day. But we'll move on to the 27th of December, the day after Stephen's Day. Leopardstown will go to first for the Paddy Rewards Club Chase, with the face-off of the 2 milers. Marine National, the defending 2 mile chasers, in here 7-4 favourite. Majbra, who we've discussed plenty on this show, is 5-2. Dino Blue 4-1. Found a 50. The Healy Chase winner 5-1. Only by night 8s, and it's 10s bar those. Johnny, I'll go to you first here. Marine National, first time seeing him this year. Quotes from Barry Connell as bullish as ever on the lead up to this one. Will you be expecting him to defend his crown as the champion of the 2 milers?
Yeah, you said the clash of the 2 milers. That kind of might sound like you meant they were miler horses, and in a way, the way they're talking, that might be far off. French Navy, the sire of Marine National, I think he was he only won Group 3s, but he basically was like he was a miler, give or take, and Marine National has a lot of speed. Like I think, you know, Paddy's been a brilliant addition to this show, and the way he spoke about Majborough was quite striking after Mallow. You know, I suppose the main point with Majborough here, presuming he runs, is that he's going to be going the other way, and that's going to make things a lot more interesting. So that's why I'd be kind of wary of just writing him off yet, going back left-handed. But the problem for me is that his jumping has been so erratic now in basically 3 starts. I'd be wary of him. Now, all of these things are, well, what price do you want to back him at, or what price would you back Marine National at? I still feel Marine National is pretty bulletproof here. You know, he's 7-4. That's the top price around. I'd say he'll be ready to rock. And there are too many doubts about Majborough. I wouldn't be surprised if Majborough bounced back if he jumped left and won. There are too many doubts on at this stage, and we still have, like, Marine National. For me, he's probably still really, really getting to himself as a top horse. I think there could still be more to come from him. And I'd be surprised if anything else won it, to be honest. I've never thought Dino Blue was quite up to the level of this pair. So yeah, it'll be Marine National, the miler, for me.
Paddy, what are you thinking?
Do you know, looking at it, I don't know how this race is going to pan out. Will Solness jump off and go quick? You'd be hoping so, because other than that, it could be very, very tactical. Listen, Marine National is as solid as they come of a racehorse. Lovely horse. They're speaking him up. Seemingly he's flying at home, doing everything right. As a rider, if you said to me, which one of these do you want to ride? I'd ride Majborough, be honest, because look, he's had a run under his belt. Marine National hasn't. He's not getting any younger. As fit and all as you can get him at home, I'm pretty sure Barry O'Connell's not hard on his horses, you know. He's definitely going to improve from a run. So Majborough's had that. As I said, he jumped like a fridge the last day. The data doesn't tell you that, but your eyes don't lie, really. And I think a lot with the data is, right, they're measuring from one side of the fence to the other. If you watch the race, Mark Walsh had to hoof him at every fence. And that's what makes his data probably a bit better, that he's getting absolutely the kitchen sink thrown at him at every fence, whereas the other guys aren't. They're just wanting to get from A to B as easy as possible, you know, whereas the effort Mark had to put into Majborough to get him from one side to the other, it tells later on in a horse. Basically what you want to be doing is just popping around, meeting your fences nice and easy, and keeping your big leaps for the last 3. And he does it backwards, the last day in Cork. But I'd still have a crack at him. I think he's a very, very good horse. I can't see them jumping off in front in Leopardstown. I can't see them doing that again. I think, okay, if he jumps off second or third with a lead and then he starts running with Mark, then you let him go to the front. But otherwise, I think, they'll be jumping off for a lead. Going to forgive him the run in Cork. Maybe it's stupid, but my gut feeling is I'd ride him in the race.
Just one other thing, Emma, which I didn't mention. They're talking of water in the course at Leopardstown there. Like this would, if ever they wanted ground to suit Marine Nationale, this is it.
Yeah, I don't know. I find this one very difficult, to be honest. Like, as you said, Marine Nationale, he's rock solid. He's been there, done that. But like, I was probably harsh on Marshborough after the hilly way. Look, he jumped horrifically, obviously. But he still got in a length and a half of Found a 50. Who's he's not a real champion chaser, but he's a really solid horse at that level as well. To get in like in the finish with him after such a poor display of jumping, going left-handed this time should suit him as well. But still, like, I couldn't back him after seeing that jump and display. But like, if he does put it together, it could be a huge performance here from Marshborough. So look, it's probably one that I'll be skipping over anyway. It's probably more of a watch and brief for me. We'll move on to the next big one of the day, the Paddy Power Champion Novices Hurdle. Sorry, Le Deban Infant. I think that's the one you referred to earlier. The impressive thirdest winner for Willie Mullins. Paddy 7-4 favourite. Love Me Tender, another one from the Mullins stable, 7-2. Skylight Hustle 9-2 for the Gordon Elliott team. Sardudo for the Willie Mullins team. A Cork winner 5-1, and Cocktail Brute, the Drinmore Novice Hurdle winner for Gordon Elliott. Johnny, this is an interesting one. Willie is fairly heavy-handed in this. Maybe the French horse there, top of the market, he was as impressive as you like, beating, albeit probably a fairly weak field in Thurles, but he couldn't have been any more impressive on the day, and Paul Townend seemed really keen on him afterwards. What's your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, even if Willie kind of has one or two of the big runners, and the other stables are well represented, this is going to be an intriguing race. Like, hard to be too positive, hard to be too dogmatic about anything because of the potential of these horses, and that's why they're good betting heats as well, because the form doesn't really stack up against each other. The horse I really like though is Talk the Talk. He's just a really interesting horse. I think I tipped him at Fairy House, but he was very well back that day. He beat I'm Slippy and Mercia and absolutely smashed them. He was 4-1 originally. He went off 2-1 under Sam Ewing that day, and he's just a really professional horse. I was at Limerick when he won the day before. I think that's one of the reasons I tipped him. I was quite taken with the performance that day, and he really oozed class as Fairy House, and he definitely beat very good horse on that occasion. Maybe I'm Slippy. Mercia was very weak in the betting, but has a 141 rating. Windrock was 4th, and these are good 4-year-olds. The fact that they're 4-year-olds means that this is a more difficult challenge taking on the older horse. But this horse had 3 runs. He's loads of ability.
Yeah, Paddy, what's your thoughts on this one? I think you're a fan of the Mullins horse here, are you?
I am a big fan of the horse top of the market, Emma. Like I said, Willie's not flying, and he's the only one we've seen this year that, listen, he beat nothing, but visually he was very, very impressive, and a beautiful looking horse. He jumped brilliant. He was so slick and so good, and you can only improve really. First run in Ireland and tipped away on the bridle easy. I think he's ready to step up to this company and kick on and stamp himself as one of Ireland's better novices. I agree with Johnny. Joseph's horse, like, I seen Sam Ewing interviewed after, and he could hardly contain a smile when they asked him, how good is he, and he just said he's very good, So to take that into account as well, like, he's sitting on good horses of Gordon's every morning, and he rode all the good ones last year when Jack was out, so he's probably good value, at the price. But I hope to see Willie's Le Devan Infant just arrive there and win well. Look, he's 2-1. I won't be having a bet, but the other horses, Love Me Tender, got plenty of experience now. I think Willie actually owned them himself, and JP bought him off him. So usually when JP puts in cash for a horse, he rarely misses. So they obviously like this one. Around 6-1, yeah, could be a little bit of value, but a horse to keep an eye on, definitely.
Yeah, he's an interesting one. He won his bumper in Shmore, I think, under Jody, and then went to Kilbeg. And it's not the most conventional route, I suppose, for a Grade 1 hurdler, but Willie has done it in the past with Mystical Power when he's made an hurdle in Kilbeg as well. So, as you said, JP bought him after running in the Mullins Cutters before that, so they obviously think a fair bit of him. Yeah, Le Devon en Font, the Divine Child, I think it translates to. I think he was fourth in the conditions hurdle in his last one in France, behind Alamba. Obviously moved to Willie after that, and he's maiden hurdle win in Thurles, beating not a whole pile, but he couldn't have done much more. Paul was raving about him. He looks really exciting. Skylight Hustle, I mentioned him already. He's a horse I really like. He's got that bit of experience under his belt as well. That run in Goran was good, even though he got beaten. But I liked the way he dug down, put his head down when he was challenged, and battled all the way to the line. And then he came back out at Fairyhouse and was very, very impressive. Gordon Elliott has a huge record in this race, but he's won the last 2 renewals. He likes to send his best novice here, I'd say. So look, he'd be the one I'd be liking to keep on side as well in that one. But it's like you said, there's plenty with massive potential here. It's kind of a bit of a guessing game at this stage, but it'll be a cracker regardless. And I wouldn't be surprised to see that Supreme Novice Hurdle betting changing a little bit after we see this one in Leopardstown. We'll move on to the next one. We're going to chat about onto the next day in Leopardstown. We'll go to the Christmas hurdle, the Battle of the Stairs. Ballybyrne favourite for this one, 11-8, hoping to reverse his Hatton's Grace form with Yupu 7-4. Yellow Clay 6-1, Bob Ollinger 8-1, Home by Lee 8-1, and it's 16s bar those. Johnny, a bit of a changing tactic, I suppose, from Gordon, sending Tupu to Leopardstown for the first time. He normally likes to go to Cheltenham fresh, but he's keen on a rematch with Ballybyrne here. How do you see this one going?
Yeah, I think the staying division generally doesn't have a lot of depth, so I wouldn't be afraid to run this horse away. He's one of the most reliable horses in training, and I'd be very much in the Teopu camp over the two of them. I'm still not convinced Ballybyrne is an out and out 3-miler, and Teopu is just really solid. The one concern maybe would be I still feel he's probably better with a good bit of ease in the ground, and I don't think there's any rain really forecast. We'd rain today on the Monday. Not much rain forecast here in Dublin. But I actually like the Yellow Clay each way. He'll probably be harshly judged by being beaten at odds on by Colonel Mustard, but he was race fit and he's a very solid horse in his day. And to me, this horse was second to the new line at Cheltenham. And with Final Demand third, he screams 3-mile hurdler all day long. And I'd be very happy to back him each way. He'll come on for that run, no doubt. Gordon's horses are flying. And, the fact that there's a bit of 8-1 available as well, but you can back him at an each way price. I still have some questions about Ballybyrne. Keep an eye out for Mystical Power as well, who's one of the most enigmatic horses in training at this stage. But I wouldn't entirely give up on him yet.
Yeah, he wasn't actually running a bad race at all, I thought, in the Hatton's Grace last time, unseated at the last. But he wasn't an awful way behind Ballybyrne when Ballybyrne started to get going. So yeah, he'd be one maybe to keep on side at 16-1. But you can make a case for plenty in this. Like Home by Lee won it last year. He's a horse who, his form lines won't fill you with encouragement, but he's a horse who can just pull one out of the bag out of nowhere. Bob Ollinger, last year's staying hurdle winner. Paddy, there's plenty in here with good chances. But to be honest, I'm still in the Ballybyrne camp. I thought that Hatton's Grace one was impressive. To be fair, we're talking about Willie's horses improving for a run. I'd say he's one that will definitely come on for that. I loved the way he hurdled after transitioning back from chasing. You're not really sure how they might do that, but he maybe didn't have the easiest look and running, like turning in. He was shuffled around a small bit, had a bit of work to do, lost a bit of position, but after jumping the last, he thundered home behind Tupu, and with a bit of race fitness behind him, I wouldn't be shocked at all to see reversing the form here. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I'll just say it's great to have a bit of competitiveness again in the stayers. It was kind of a race that had been down through the years really, really good with good horses. The big boxes and English Reavers and stuff like that. It was great fun and it was a standout race. But for a good few years there, it kind of got a bit flat. But I think with the introduction to Ballybyrne in it, has really lifted the profile of the race again. And look, I'm looking forward to seeing my old mate Bob Ollinger. I just want to make sure he's got 4 legs and a tail over Christmas so I can have a few quid on him in Cheltenham, So I'd be interested to see him, and hopefully he turns up and runs a nice race. Second or third would do you going into Cheltenham. I'm with you. I think Ballybyrne's going to be very hard to beat, but he's going to be very hard to ride. I think Willie wasn't happy the last day. He doesn't come out and say it, but he did make a comment on the ride or how the tactics worked. And like you said, if he didn't get put in a pocket, I think he beats Teahupoo. And going up another half a mile, I think he beats him further. But he must relax. I don't know, would they think about jumping off in front on him and seeing will he relax that way? There's never usually a whole pile of speed in the 3 mile races. So it's up to Paul Town and Willie to get their tactics right. I've got no doubt he's the best horse in the race. Yeah, just as I said, Bob Ollinger hopefully turns up in one piece. But if I was having a punt, I'd be back in Ballyburn.
Yeah, same as, and I think they did hint at a change of tactics as well, so wouldn't be shocked at all to see him ridden more forwardly here. With that under his belt as well, they'd probably be more confident in his fitness as well going into this one. But Ballyburn, a big one there for me as well. But we'll move on. Another big race on the day, the Savills Chase. This looks an absolute cracker. I was a little bit maybe surprised seeing the betting here. I know the way you're thinking, 13-8 favourite, Galopin des Champs 9-4. Factor 5, unlikely to go here. He's in there 5-2. Faster Slow, good comeback one last time. He's 4-1, and it's 12s bar those. Johnny, I know the way you're thinking. He was beaten, I think, 15 lengths in this race last year. They're obviously expecting a massive improvement in this year's renewal. I suppose a satisfactory enough run in the John Durkin last time for connections. What are your thoughts on the Savills?
I don't know if you could call one of the best Gold Cup winners we've ever seen, maybe beating 53 lengths satisfactory. Like, but I kind of get what you're saying as well, though. He's a strange kind of horse. He's hardly ever sent off favourite in his life, and I mean, I think he was. There's no doubt he was very eye catching in this race behind Galopin des Champs last year, and you know, for a while this horse wasn't even in the Gold Cup picture. So it's and Gavin's horses for me, I wouldn't be that worried about stable form. I think you know. He's that wouldn't put me off backing his horse. So I think we'll get a better performance. Whether, you know, I did an interview for the Irish Racing yearbook with Gavin Cromwell, and he basically said we're working back from Cheltenham. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, the Gold Cup's the plan for him, so he's not going to be 100%, and that's fair enough. Whereas with Faster Slow, who was beaten 29 lengths in the same race, but I actually thought did okay given, you know, his own history of injuries. I feel he's very solid here each way. You know, he's trained by an absolute genius in Martin Braswell. I back his horses any day of the week at any level. I thought that was very satisfactory. Like, Paddy alluded to me talking about the race. Like, there's an element of, like, I loved watching that race. There's just an element of my issue with it was that the stewards weren't looking into some of the performances more, because you have to, at least, you know, if you're backing horse in grade ones, you want to get a run for your money in some respects. But Faster Slow, I don't think he could have done any better on the day, really, given the pace they went. So I was very happy with his comeback run. And what a race this is going to be if even half of the big guns show up, or if the big guns show up in general, we're going to have a real cracker. I like Faster Slow each way.
Yeah, looks a cracker. And Paddy, just touch on Galopin des Champs there for a second. He's won this the last 2 years, obviously, but he's always had that comeback run in the John Durkin. Like, he obviously loves Leopardstown. He always seemed to take that run, though. Was it the Punchestown factor, do you think, or is he just a horse who kind of needs a run? Would that make him kind of vulnerable for you here?
Yes, because he's missed his outing. So he's obviously missed a bit of work as well. So yeah, he you know, that has to be a worry. But maybe they've decided to change tack and try and get him fresh at Cheltenham, you know, and it's not all about picking up 2 grade ones or prize money on the way to Cheltenham this year. Maybe it's trying to get him there after last year. They thought he was a bit flat, you know. But geez, he's hard to go against in Leopardstown, because if he gets it into a rhythm jumping in Leopardstown, there's no horse in Ireland or England that can live with him, you know. Like, I'd say every year he peaks. Now, his Gold Cup wins were superb, but Leopardstown 2 years ago, he blew me away here. You know, he was so good. He was amazing. So at 5-2, I can't go away from him, to be honest. I think he's really solid. You know, he will need a run, but I think he's a better horse than Faster Slow. He's had a run. He'll get close to him, I think. But like the last time they came up in this race a couple of years ago in Leopardstown, he blew him away, and you know, he did have the run, okay, but I can't go away from Old Gallopin. He's a brilliant horse. I agree with Johnny. Fast Slow had a great run the last day, and I'd say they were absolutely delighted to see the horse sound back in one piece and tipped away. But like, I know what you're thinking at 2-1 has to be the craziest price of all time. You know, where's that coming out? You know what I mean? Johnny said it. They're working back from Cheltenham, and I think Vincent said at the start of the year with us, or the start of we start speaking about Cheltenham, that he'll be tipping around till Cheltenham because he does it every year. You can't say that Keith Donoghue, whoever is going to ride him, will be bouncing him out upsides in front there, giving him a slap and dropping in second or third, following him around and giving him a really hard race. Don't see it. I'd see them riding him the very same way again, tip away, get into a rhythm and let him come home. Whether that be that he's going to win it, but if it was a beginner's chase, fair enough, because there mightn't be that good of horses or everybody mightn't be trying, but this is a Grade 1 Savills chase. Everybody's going to be out there absolutely gunning to win it. So yeah, I couldn't have him at 2-1. I couldn't back him at 5-1 even if he gave me that, but I'll take Gallopin Champs to beat Fast or Slow.
Yeah, I know. I'd agree with everything you said there. To be fair, I was shocked when I saw the bet and went up to it this morning. I thought Gallopin Des Champs would be a warm enough favourite here. Just considering like I know he's missed his comeback on, but like his record on Leopardstown speaks for itself. Like you've mentioned, just to mention a few of the other ones in the field there, the likes of Lecky Watson there. He was a novice who showed plenty of promise last year. He never got a chance to get into the John Durkin, I suppose. Johnny, is there anything like that could maybe get involved here? Maybe a race that's run a bit differently. Lecky Watson 25-1. Would he have any appeal to you?
No. I think you're far too reliant on like really, really good horses to underperform. I suppose with respect to Lecky Watson, as much as the race at Cheltenham fell apart a bit, I still feel he'll be a lot better than he was at Punchestown. So I suppose you could make a bit of a case there. Of some of the others, the likes of Ian Maximus, he might perform a bit better as well. He was beaten 81 lengths in that race, which in fairness, he's going to be going down the route of the national. He might perform a bit better, but see if Jerry Colombe comes back. He's a bit of a forgotten horse considering the odds he's been sent off in his life. It's rare you'll see him at the price he is here. But I couldn't really see a shock in the race at the same time. I think like the top horses with apart from I know the way you're thinking, I'd be confident they'll perform their races.
Very good. So it's me and Paddy with Gallopin, and Johnny has a bit of a bet on Fast or Slow maybe in that one. But we'll move on to Limerick on Sunday the 28th, big Grade 1 Faugheen Novice Chase down there. And this looks like an interesting race. Final Demand likely to be a long odds on favour for this one, but it's not going to be a walk in the park, I don't think, for him. Oscar's brother, a really interesting runner there for Connor King, first run in the JP McManus Silks. He looks like an improver. Jimmy DeSoy, we didn't see a whole pile of him last year. We only saw him once when he won the Coral Cup. He was impressive on chasing debut as well, but it has to be all about Final Demand here. It'll be more of an asset test, I suppose, over fences, Paddy. Like, he was very impressive winning last time in Navan, but he's got a higher level of competition here, and it'll be interesting to see what he can do against them.
Yeah, he was brilliant in his chase in Navan. To be fair to him, he looked very much a chasing type his whole career, but he just kind of, I suppose I haven't seen a horse jump like that around Navan for a long, long time. I'd say him and Romeo Coolio have been just foot perfect so far this season, jumping wise, and any jockey would love to be on their back. But you're right, like JP has forked out a bit of cash for Oscar's brother. Delighted that he's staying with the Kings. So I mean, JP doesn't buy horses for no reason. There's always something behind it, or there's a story, because the new line, he forked out money for him and it worked out. Oscar's brother, yeah, he was good the last day. He done all the donkey work the last day. Good horse. I think Jimmy DeSoy might go to Kempton, to be honest. I think he might give this a skip, because he'd be favouring the Grade 1 in Kempton over there. I think he'd have a great chance in it. Going to be a good race, but I think Final Demand should be just, if he gets into the same rhythm in Limerick, it's very hard in Limerick. Then 3 or 4 fences up the back. If you can get into a rhythm, jump at them and use very little petrol, you're jumping up a hill. So if you start having to miss them fences and squeeze anyway up that hill, it takes a hell of a lot out of a horse. And if you go up there and wing them like he should, it's brilliant, because you're coming down a hill, then you're giving a horse, he's able to fill his lungs, and they actually get a lot more confident after climbing the hill, filling their lungs while they're going down a hill. You can see a lot of horses just coming back on the bridle and winging down over the last two. But if you miss one of them, you're in trouble. Whereas jumping is this lad's, he's so good. That's his forte. And look, he's going to be very short. He's not going to be worth a bet. But it'll be a great watching brief. Hopefully he goes out and if he can win 5 or 6 lengths and we have a real banker for Cheltenham.
Yeah, he's kind of just one of those horses you'd be looking forward to running any day of the week. Like you'd be kind of putting on the telly maybe an hour beforehand to see the build up to seeing him running. Johnny, you expecting a big performance from Final Demand as well?
Big style, yeah. You said it mightn't be a walk in the park, and he is by walk in the park. And we see, like when he came off the bridle the one time, I have a thing about walking the parks. I like to see them come off the bridle, see what they do. The one time he came off the bridle, there wasn't a lot there, but again, a bit like Romeo Coolio. Just this horse, even looking at the way he strode and the way he jumped hurdles, like you were crying out to see him over fences. And I definitely feel he could be the best walk in the park of the lot, just yet down the line. He was spectacular at Navan, no negatives whatsoever. And fair play to JP McManus. Like, I talk a lot about that operation, I suppose, but to keep the horse with Oscar's brother, with Conor King, that's what racing should be all about. And Conor's dad to buy 2 horses and to the other horse by Idaho, whose name I forget, but the 2 of them are very, very good. And, it's been brilliant story to see Conor and Dan with Oscar's brother, but he's not Final Demand. Final Demand is absolutely bulletproof for me.
Yeah, we're probably all in agreement there. We'll move on. The last grade 1 of the Christmas period we will chat about the December hurdle at Leopardstown next Monday. Lassie Mouse 8-13 favourite for this one. And Zadam, again, unsure where he's going to go at the moment, but he's 4-1. Brighter Days Ahead, supplemented for this by Gordon, 4-1 as well. Woodoo 6-1. It's 14 bar those. It's an interesting race, I suppose. Lassie Mout has kind of become the de facto champion hurdle favourite just because other horses have been dropping out and other things like that. But she's a very warm favourite in here. But Brighter Days Ahead obviously won this last year. One of the most devastating hurdle performances that you will ever see. Doing it from the front that day, beating Stateman. She drops back to hurdles here again. Johnny, it's an interesting move from Gordon, I suppose. He probably saw a bit of a weakness in the division and wanted to exploit that.
Yeah, like I think if there's one horse that Gordon is kind of a stubborn character, and I say that in a positive way. Like he will be really, really hungry to prove the doubters wrong with this mare, because like when she was before the one preview night I did with him at Cheltenham, before Cheltenham last year, the one preview night I did, the one thing I will not forget is how confident he was about Brighter Days Ahead. She was very disappointing at Cheltenham, and then at Punchestown she was more or less the same or worse. So she's questions to answer, but whether that race took so much out of her last year is a bit of a question mark. But that performance was astonishing, regardless of how the race was panned out. She beat Winter Fog by 30 lengths. Like anyone who does that, she ran to something like 170. It was an incredible performance, and the fact that he's done what he's done, I definitely think she's value. Like if she runs that race again, she'll win this. And I'm happy to think that at this stage for life, she still has something to offer. So I'd be in her boat, definitely. We don't know where Anzadam is going, obviously.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Paddy, just touching Lassie Mout for a second. I suppose, look, she didn't have to prove anything at all in the Morgana last time. Maybe one thing, if you were being hypercritical, maybe she reached that one hurdle down the back in Punchestown. For me, I think she still has to prove it a little bit in the 2 mile division. Look, she's become champion hurdle favourite, but kind of by what others have done more so than what she has done, really, for me.
No, I mean, she's bulletproof. She's a cracking mare. We're always giving out that she's not the champion hurdle every year, and hopefully she goes there this year. She's a cracking mare. Listen, Brighter Days Ahead is a good mare, but that race last year, she had 2 good solid runs going into it. I don't think that she can produce anywhere near that this year with no run under her belt, and that was her peak. So maybe they're looking at this race, then a DRF, then the champion hurdle. Maybe that her 3rd run in is her peak, and that'd be a sensible sort of plan. Funny how the race will go. I know you said Lassie Mountain reached that one, but that's a mare in front who's used to being covered up, snuggled away, absolutely winging hurdles, and gaining lengths, and a bit like Constitution Hill. They'll all grab at hurdles. Most races you watch, a horse will have a grab at a hurdle at some stage, but it's whether the rider on the back wants them, to be brave, or lets them at it. It's a different story, But yeah, look, she lopped around the last day piece of work for her. But look, we got to see that she was safe and sound, but I think she's as solid as they come. Probably the best bet over Christmas.
Very good. Best bet over Christmas. Johnny, you mentioned Woodoo, I think, in a show a few weeks ago as maybe a dark horse for this division. She looks likely to line up here as well. Would she have any interest? Would she be of any interest to you?
She's a horse I've probably not appreciated how good she was. But she really impressed me the last day. The position she came out of. She's ground versatile, trip versatile. She's only been beaten once. I'd still be surprised if she had the ability of Lossiemouth or an informed Brighter Days Ahead. But I definitely of all the horses nearly at Christmas, she's the one you can rely on to run her race, which in this instance will probably be good enough to finish in the first three. But I'd be wary of entirely ruling her out because she's so likeable and maybe there's still a bit of improvement in her.
Yeah, for sure. She's probably won, like Lossiemouth, likely to go on that champion hurdle, Pat, now. She's probably won for the mayor's hurdle. She's held by Lossiemouth, I suppose, in their Aintree hurdle form, and probably more of a 2.5 miler for me, but still an interesting addition to the field. Makes it a bit more interesting. If Amsterdam doesn't show up, the top three in the betting would be mares, which not something you'd see too often, I suppose, in this champion hurdle division. But
Johnny would be delighted.
But at least the running, I'm absolutely delighted. There's no mares race; they have to run against each other, you know.
Yeah. But as we've gone through all the big grade ones over the Christmas period, but before we wrap up, I'd ask you both for a best bet in one of the big races and also a handicap fancy over the Christmas period. Johnny, I'll go to you first.
Handicap fancy is actually a horse of my old friend Davy Fitzgerald, the night agent. I feel he'd probably laid out for one of the handicaps in Limerick. He's 2 options, 28, 29. So wherever he runs, good run the last day in Mallow. His first run back. My nap in terms of the graded races, I'll actually go with Fast or Slow each way in the big one.
Very good. Paddy?
My handicap is a horse that Johnny tipped there not too long ago, is Fierce Handy. He's entered in the 27th and the 29th. I think he'll go in the 27th. He's got 10 stone 6 on his back over 2 miles. I think he's going to improve a hell of a lot off that run. I think it's the first time he was let jump hurdles properly the last day, and he absolutely winged around and won easy. And nice looking horse. I think he's still ahead of the handicapper. And my big race is Jimmy the Soy in Kempton in the King George or the Cato Star Novice. If he goes, if he doesn't go there, I'm going to side with Lossiemouth.
Very good. For me, for the handicap, I'll go to Limerick for the Tim Duggan Memorial Chase. I think Happy Dreams is in there. He looks an interesting one for Michael McDonough. He won the same race in 2023. He beat Glenn Gooley, imagine the Paddy Power Gold Cup winner from last week, off a mark of 112 that day. He's down to a mark, I think, of 107 now. Look, he got a good hike, I suppose, for winning it a few years ago, and 4 maybe tailed off a bit, but he's been able to drop down a fair bit down the handicap now again. His last 2 runs look really good. He's a 4-time winner around Limerick. It's kind of a bit of a track. Like if a horse likes it, they can keep winning in Limerick, and he's run well in defeat there a few times as well. So Happy Dreams, one to look out for there for Michael McDonough in the Tim Duggan, the big race at the Limerick Festival. And for the big race, I'll probably stick with Ballyburn in the Christmas hurdle. I think he will probably improve past Tiupu from their Hatton's Grace run, and he could be a superstar in the making in the Stairs hurdle division for Willie Mullins and Paul Townend. So that's it from us, lads. Thanks very much for tuning into the show. Make sure to have a lovely Christmas, and if you're going to bet over the Christmas period, make sure to gamble responsibly. We'll be back next Monday to review all of the big action from the Christmas period. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.